Hi everybody and welcome. I'm Mattias and today I'm reviewing this red beast, the Uno Synth Pro from IK Multimedia. Quick disclaimer, I did receive the Uno Synth Pro from IK Multimedia to be able to make this review. That said, my thoughts are always my own. Let's take the tour. The Uno Synth Pro is the successor or next generation of the original Uno Synth. I have the original Uno Synth since a few years back and I really love the light package and the analog sound of the original Uno Synth. So I highly recommend the first generation of the Uno Synth if you're just starting out and want your first portable analog synthesizer. The Uno Synth Pro is a more mature analog synthesizer, upgraded with new features, and it has a very red and elegant metal chassis. This is a quite heavy synth, but it's basically built like a tank. And the Uno Synth Pro is also updated with tons of connectability. The Uno Synth Pro is a monophonic synth, but includes a paraphonic mode, which makes it possible to divide the three oscillators and basically play three-note chords. But we'll come back and talk more about the paraphonic mode later in the video. Okay, now you're all eager to hear what the Uno Synth Pro sounds like, so let's begin with a few sounds from the stock patches. This is actually a great patch to demonstrate the paraphonic mode of the Uno Synth Pro. I mentioned that you can use the paraphonic mode to divide the three oscillators, wave 1, wave 2 and wave 3, and divide them to different notes on the keyboard. And if you accidentally play more than 3 notes, some of these previous notes will be stolen. So let's demonstrate. You can also hear that the notes in the paraphonic mode share the same filter and envelopes. The keybed on the Uno Synth Pro is a really nice semi-weighted Fatar keybed, and it also has aftertouch. On the other hand, the desktop version of the Uno Synth Pro has capacitive keys, so there's no velocity sensitivity or aftertouch. Right, so let's talk about the user interface and panel layout of the Uno Synth Pro. At the top we have the controls for the dual filter. So there's the filter cutoff and the filter resonance. So if we take a simple waveform like the sawtooth and do a little sweep. So that's with the resonance all the way down. So if we increase the resonance slightly here. The filter of the Uno Synth Pro is a dual filter. So you first have the filter from the first generation of the Uno Synth, and you also have a brand new SSI filter. And you can run these filters in serial and parallel, and I think it's like 24 different filter modes. So there's tons of possibilities to create really nice filter sweeps and all kinds of combinations. You navigate the synth engine of the Uno Synth Pro via these master pages to the left side here. And some of these have a dual functionality, so if you press them a second time, you get access to more parameters. So for example, the first press will activate the filter 1, and if I press this a second time, we get access to the filter 2. Furthermore, you control the parameters of each page via these data knobs. So these are the parameters for the envelope amplitude for the filter number 2 at the moment. And we have the spacing and the mode, the filter mode. So now I've set them to a 2-pole low-pass parallel. So it's really easy to create self-oscillating filters with the Uno Synth Pro. So let's go to the effects page and activate a little bit of delay. Maybe a little bit of reverb. I mentioned that we have 3 analog oscillators plus a noise generator in the Uno Synth Pro. So if we go to the oscillator page, you can also see this one has 2 different stages of parameters. Here we can control the waveforms for the 3 first analog oscillators, plus the sync parameter. So let's look at what kind of waveforms we have. So the first oscillator is currently set to a triangle. Let's do a sweep here. The sawtooth. And a square to pulse wave. And of course you can modulate these parameters. The synth engine also has frequency modulation and sync and pulse width modulation. To control the synth engine of the Uno Synth Pro, we use these 4 parameter knobs, and we can also make use of this more accurate data knob. The Uno Synth Pro also has a 16-step Arpeggiator. And with these 16 buttons we can activate or deactivate steps. And you can change the direction by holding Alt and pressing these. It's a little bit hard to read here, but you can control the gate, accent, tie and directions of the arpeggio. Now it's set to random, up and down. Now let's briefly look at the effects, because the Uno Synth Pro has some really nice effects. So let's deactivate the alternative button here. And we press the effect button, and we can see that we have an analog drive, the mod, which is for chorus and flanger phaser, a delay and a reverb, which we can control directly via these 4 top knobs. That's the drive. Let's add some chorus with the modulation. So we get a nicer stereo spread on the sound. And change the delay. So the delay is currently controlling the delay amount. If we want to control more of the deep features of the delay, we need to press this data button, the data encoder. Now we can select the delay type. It's currently set to ping pong. That's the doubler. Let's select the stereo delay. And now let's apply some more reverb. Let's briefly look at the reverb types. So move the reverb knob to select the reverb parameter. Then we press the data knob, access type, and we're currently set to Hall. Change this to plate. There's also a reversed delay and a spring delay. Let's go back to the Hall type. It's a little bit fiddly here, the menu diving, when you need to control and change the different types here, but I guess that's what you get when you have a reduced user interface or panel. So the less knobs, the more fiddly interface. Let's go ahead and go back and increase the time. So the effects sounds really nice on the Uno Synth Pro, but they are a little bit hard to control when you need to do this kind of menu diving and pressing the data knob and going back and forth here. Right, it also features a 64-step sequencer, and you get access to 16 of the sequencer steps at a time. Then you can navigate through the different pages. You have 4 pages and 16 steps. That's 64 steps of sequencing steps. And on each of these steps we can have up to 3 notes, I think. So we can hold down a step, press the record button, hold down a step, and enter the notes that you want on that specific step. So the sequencer and Arpeggiator give you a lot of options to create and program small synth sequences on the Uno Synth Pro. Let's go ahead here and select one of my favorite patches, the Chill Pluck, preset 29, and right, so for my conclusion regarding the Uno Synth Pro, I think it's an excellent analog synthesizer. It's great that we have 3 oscillators and the dual filters. That sounds awesome, especially in combination when you do this kind of cross modulations. And I really like the gritty analog overdrive within the synth, and the modulation, reverb and delays sounds excellent. Most of the time analog synths don't even have these onboard effects, so it's great that we have that in the Uno Synth Pro. The only downside I found with the Uno Synth Pro is probably the menu diving that you have to do on this small little screen when you need to go and edit filter types and some of the more deeper settings of the synth. Aside from that, it's an excellent analog synthesizer. So what do you think about the sound of the Uno Synth Pro? Please let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like and that notification bell so that you get the notice as soon as I drop new videos. Right, see you in the next video. Bye.